Township Design Review Board meeting. Before we get started, we please ask you to turn your cell phones off if you already haven't done so. And before we get started, we're going to ask Jason to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Directly over to your left. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just to let you know, these meetings aren't televised live. Please ask you to approach a podium, tell us who you are, the business you represent, and you could lay your plans out on the desk next to the podium. So we'll get started with our first applicant tonight is DRB 2019-03, the application of trustees at the University of Pennsylvania Health System at 145 King of Prussia Road in Wayne for a new building. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Eric Swanson with Ballinger, and I'm here representing the university, the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania. And we're at, what's that?
This is switch. I think we need the microphone.
Oh, just maybe it needs to be on.
Okay.
That's that.
Perfect.
There you go.
Better. So Eric Swanson with Ballinger representing the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania. What you're seeing on the screen is a aerial of the full development at 145 King of Prussia Road. Tonight, we're just talking about the building on the upper right here, up against 476. King of Prussia Road is coming across the bottom here, and these are the SEPTA Route 100 tracks going along the back side of the road. In the future, the rest of this site will be developed with an office building and a hotel, but that is still to come. So today we're talking about the medical office building, as I said, in the upper right-hand corner for Penn Medicine, and its garage directly behind it. Today, this is what the site looks like. So we are under construction. Actually, it's a little bit further along than this was probably taking at the end of December. So we're looking back towards the blue route, and you can see the outline of the building emerging from the ground, and the parking garage will be back here. Again, King of Prussia Road coming along the right-hand side there. Here's the site plan. Again, so we're talking about the right-hand side of the development today. So we will have the main arrival coming off in the middle of the site directly across from Rader Road. Service vehicles only will use the access around on the right-hand side. The big garage here in the back. Patients come in and either go directly into the garage, which is probably most of the people, or they can drop off here at a front door. The building is U-shaped, and access from the parking garage is here, and it allows really to come in at a central point where elevators will be, circulation directly to both of these wings. So patients will be around the inside looking into this interior courtyard, and then clinics and medical space will be on the back side with sort of staff circulation on the back side of each of these wings. The rest of the site development will show you a little bit more about the landscape, but we are incorporating a trail that runs through the site, and may eventually connect to the underpass under 476, and we are inviting public into the space with other trails that run into this courtyard, and then also up into the SEPTA station over here. A view as you've come in from King of Prussia Road, so you're looking towards the entrance here, and a canopy that arrival. The parking garage behind, main entrance door here. On the ground floor, a glazed area looking into sort of the public parts of the building. Most of the building is a dark brick color. We'll look at that a little more carefully in a slide or two. But we do have some large glass areas, including this large bay window, which incorporates some patient care spaces, including some cancer infusion. The reason that it has two kinds of glass is that we really want that privacy for patients and staff, and we still want light. So you're looking at some clear glass here, as well as some obscured acid etched glass at the white portions of the building. Building is 3 stories on this side, but for the most part, these are 2 4-story buildings because the land slopes away towards Route 30. Again, this is a view looking into the courtyard. So you're looking at the two wings. As we said, most of the waiting areas are looking into this courtyard. There is a bridge connector, very glassy bridge connector that links the two wings, and it accommodates both staff flow back and forth, but also patient waiting areas. So you can actually be in the bridge and in the garden at the same time. And there are also two stair towers. In fact, the fire stairs have been located inside the courtyard, and they have large areas of glass. Again, we're encouraging people to use the stairs as much as possible. These are the major materials. Again, we have an iron spot brick as the major building material for most of it. And then dark frames for all of the windows and other metal. A light color aluminum for the screen at the top of the building, which does wrap down in one location. And then the two different glasses that we have here, mostly this mostly clear tinted glass, Solar Band XL, slight greenish tint to it, and then the acid etched that we talked about for those patient care areas. On the garage, and this is washing out a little bit, most of the garage is a dark color to match the brick, so you're seeing it here in the middle. This is actually the panel that we're using. These were a couple different mock-ups. And this gives you a good sense of the brick that because it's an iron spot, although it looks dark in some instances when it's wet, it also is very reflective and has some tints of purple and silver and blue in it, which we think livens it up considerably. The verticals in the garage will be the light white color. These are hard to see. I think you have these plans in front of you, but these are just the elevations, so you can kind of see the proportions of glass to brick in most of these facades. The windows are deceptively large, or maybe they are larger than they might seem. Those are actually, the module is roughly 5 by 10 in those windows, so that it really brings light into the areas. Again, looking at the south and west elevation of the south wing, this is a 4-story building, has a few less openings on its 2 lower floors because that has surgery and radiology in it. You can see this is the light aluminum penthouse that does wrap down one side as it merges into the garage. These are the courtyard elevations, so again you can see the bridge cut in section there and the 2 large stair volumes which have the full height glass in them. And then at the back side of the U, it is all glass, and that's really the patient arrival and registration area on every floor. I won't look at that too closely. Talk a little bit about the landscape design. This has been all reviewed with the Shade Tree Commission. As you know, we are replacing some trees that were taken down, so there will be quite a lot of new trees planted here, as well as the preservation of some real beautiful heritage trees. And all of these have been reviewed with Shade Tree. But just some of the concepts for that. So we kind of have a perimeter meadow at the front along King of Prussia Road, the courtyard, and the main courtyard, or the main court in the middle here are both meadows, but they're also helping with stormwater management. So we have rain gardens in here and sort of a wet meadow here. Deeply forested between the 2 parking garages, and then again another retention basin here, or a detention basin here that's already exists today, just being amplified. Some sense of the imagery that we're hoping for in here. So again, looking from top, this is the idea of the arrival area, some paved areas in the middle, some of the rain garden imagery, and the meadows at the perimeter. So again, the perimeter meadow, we're maintaining the edges at the driveways, and the walkways will all be mowed, but then there will be the warm weather meadow beyond that. And then the space between the garage and the building has sort of a tight little courtyard that we're thinking of as sort of a forest floor kind of planting material. And again, some of the ideas for incorporating the rain gardens and the detention. These are just, and Jonathan Alderson is here if you have questions. He's our landscape architect, and these are just the plant lists. So I think that's about it for just an overview, and we welcome your questions at this time.
Questions or comments from the board? Jason?
I think it's very straightforward, well presented. Thank you, Eric.
Looks great.
I think it'll be a good addition to our township.
Tim?
So I guess at this point, how far will that building then be off from King of Prussia Road?
I believe it's 100 and, I'm looking for Mike Kissinger to help me remember, but it's beyond the setback line, so it's 100 and some feet, 120 feet, so more or less, to the closest part.
And the lighting for this complex, that's not before us today, right?
We do have some lighting here. I forgot about that. If I can.
I'd seen it on the one page, so that's why I was just
Yeah,
double checking.
I'll just get, it's kind of hard to look at, but I'll give you the sort of overview of the lighting, and Mike can help me with this. But essentially, we have some pole lighting that are on the service road and in our main entrance drive, and then also along the main walkway. We have bollard lighting for the pathways that go through the courtyard areas, and then some taller bollards that are in the arrival area. The canopy itself at the arrival is actually uplit, so it's lit from the ground and sort of making it an uplit surface there. And I believe that's the majority of the lighting that you see in that package. There is one special pole here with a multi-head that lights that sort of little terrace area adjacent across from the entry.
I guess the one thing not in your packet are the signage. I guess you'll come back at a later date for your signage.
Signage will be back there.
Okay, good. Okay, other comments, questions from the board? Looks good, Colin. You all right? Okay. Everybody, Wally, you're good?
Good with it.
Okay. Any questions for our board or comments? You guys are okay?
And we're good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, Jason, want to take this?
Sure. So in the matter of DRB 2019-03, the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania Health System at 145 King of Prussia Road for the mixed medical office building, I move to vote.
Okay, here a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, have a great night. Our second application tonight is DRB 2019-04, the application of Tower Health at 635 Conestoga Road in Villanova for ground signage and wall signage, and the applicant asked to be moved to the March meeting. So can we have a quick vote on that, just to approve that?
Sure. So in the matter of DRB 2019-04, Tower Health System, and their signage application for 635 Conestoga Road, I vote to, move to vote that we make this part of the March agenda.
Okay, there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, next is DRB 2019-05, the application at KMO 361 Realty Associates at 550 East Lancaster Avenue in Wayne for facade renovation and 2 wall signs.
Good evening.
Hi, Rob.
Rob Lambert here on behalf of the applicant. So I think you saw this project. Saw this property about 6 months ago related to other signs on the property. There's been some shifting of tenants on the property. And what this is looking at is the Micro Center building. So it's the building on the far east side of the property. Lancaster Avenue is across the top of the page. Ivan is down the right. This is the Micro Center building, and really this is the subject of this application. It's proposing 2 wall signs on the front side of the building We are going to be seeking a variance for the height. It was a similar variance that was granted for the other building to the west. So first I'm going to show you the signs, and then I'm going to flip to a street view image, just so you can get an idea of what you actually see from the street. This building, as many of you know, is elevated from both Ivan and Lancaster. It's set pretty far back from the actual street on both sides, and it has limited visibility to the front facade. So what's happening in this building is the left side of the building is going to become Micro Center. Right now, Micro Center has the entire building. They only use the right side, but they're going to shift to the left side, and it would just be Micro Center across the facade. Really a cleanup on the facade, fixing the ephes, some new cladding on the east side of the building, painting the existing ephes across the center to match the home goods, which is going to be on the right side, and then just a simple sign, home goods, across that side. This image is just really from the traffic light. You can see PNC Bank. So from the traffic light looking in, so this white band that you see is really the existing white band of the Micro Center building. And so you can really see the limited visibility. If you move further west on Lancaster Avenue, this building's obscured because of the other improvements on the site. And if you move further east, this is a large embankment that really obscures the view of the building. So this was the most visible that this building really is from Lancaster Avenue. And you'd have one sign roughly in this location and the other sign further to the left. So that's the project in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions. Applicant's also here to answer any questions you may have.
So Rob, the signs themselves, they're going to be channel letters?
Correct.
Okay,
Channel letters.
okay. And I think the one's going to be like 36-inch letters, if I'm not mistaken.
The home goods, yeah, the capital letters were 36 inches.
Yeah,
The Micro Center sign was 2 foot 6 inches.
okay.
Both were conforming with the overall size of the I think it's 60 square feet off the top of my head.
It is, yeah, 60.
But we will be asking for the height.
Okay. Are you guys okay with the type of materials they're using on the signage and the size of the letters and everything?
The ephes system is consistent, the color is consistent on both pieces, right? It's just the band at the bottom and then the cap on top that's different.
No, actually, they'll be different. We've got to use, basically, Home Goods has their own colors, and so does Micro Center. So we're using different colors on both.
But the light gray ephes, the background, is the same on both.
No, that'll be different.
That's different as well? And then
Yes.
the banding at the bottom, is that a brand color for Home Goods? That's their red, and Micro Centers is, I'm just looking here, sorry.
Yeah, it's a gray color. Yes, that's their branding.
Okay.
And Micro Center is a black sign with gray band, and Home Goods is red.
You're all right with that, Jason?
Yeah, no, it's fine, I'm just making sure that it, in some jurisdiction, it's fine, it's fine.
Actually, how far or how high are those signs? How tall are those?
Like 29 feet.
So you're about,
So the existing building's 26.
Yeah.
And then the new is at 29.
okay.
Yeah, they're just under 26 feet.
Mhm.
Do you know the size of the existing Micro Center letters?
I don't know the size offhand. I know that it conforms within, the 60 square feet, but it's also to the right of the building, right about here, and it's 15 feet high. So the only time you can really see it is as you're driving up the drive.
So as a board, they're going for a variance what's the opinion of the board? I mean, they do have a little hardship there.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, you really can't see it from Route 30, so just,
Yeah, I think it stands out from where it is, especially
Yeah.
considering that the building itself is elevated off of the main road there as it is.
right.
And with the foliage that's actually on that drive up towards the building,
Yeah.
I mean, even with the Micro Center sign currently sitting at the bottom right corner of the building, you barely see it. So I think it actually stands out.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's out of bounds or anything like that.
I think the red ephes, I guess, that's, I guess, partly, I guess, would be, it's not part of the building at this point, really. It's you're not painting the building, you're adding something to the building. That really is part of the branding, but I think it actually helps the whole thing stand out. So I think it looks nice. I think subject to the variance on the height, I think it is a good sign on both sides of the building.
It's the same red that's on their existing Home Goods sign, right?
Are the letters the same size as they are up at the top? I think.
The Ken Marshall with Ocean Properties, the letters here are a little bit larger than what they have on top.
Okay.
They're smaller on top because they actually have two signs that sort of face the parking
It's
lot.
that corner there, yeah. Okay. I think and that fits considering the view when you're coming up there and you see the building perfectly fine when you're coming into that parking lot, so.
I mean, I think overall, you know, we're continuing the program that we started with the former Bed Bath & Beyond space and sort of updating the look of the facade, making it feel more contemporary, sort of keeping some of the existing materials, but making some of the finishes and the details more contemporary in nature.
That actually brings up a good point with the other building across the driveway there. That has a stone facade. This is not a stone facade, right?
So there is some stone on this building that we intend to keep.
Okay.
And then, you know, like, we're adding some additional materials. We're repainting the ephes or its new ephes, and then adding some accent sort of wood composite panels off to the side.
What are you adding to the base of the columns? It's like a veneer?
Basically like a stone veneer, yes.
I guess with my point, it's going to have some continuity between the two buildings still. I feel as it is now, there is a disjunction between how the Micro Center building looks versus the old Bed Bath & Beyond building, so I think that's nice to have.
Got a little bit of everything going on out there now.
Yes.
We're trying to make
That's, I know, it's good.
We're trying to make it look more cohesive.
Making a good effort out there.
Yeah.
So Home Goods is relocating?
Yes, that's the plan.
The monument sign out front, I'm sure you'll put your panels in there, and it'll be consistent with the green that's currently there. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right, guys, what else?
No, I think it looks nice.
Wally, you all
I
right?
like it, yeah, no, I mean, they're working hard to, like
Yeah.
I said, to bring some continuity.
Is there any,
Good
I'm
property.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is there any consideration in at least in the Home Goods sign bandage, to actually turn the corner as opposed to using the composite wood? So it kind of gives it the same weight and value that you do for the Micro Center, and the way the Micro Center returns and it comes back almost 13 feet, right? Right now, the Home Goods is really just almost like an applique and thin, right? Is there a way that maybe that turns that allows for that corner to be sort of read a little bit better as the traffic is going up and down to the Giant and I guess the future Home Sense that's going to be up there, right?
Yeah, I think our architect was looking at sort of bordering the
Right.
sides of the building with the wood composite material.
Which makes sense, that I understand, but then the sort of downfall is now the Home Goods thing as a sign ban with just ephes reads like the old West prop, right? It's just kind of applied to the side and doesn't give it, like I said, the same weight and kind of treat it differently than the Micro Center. Now granted, the Micro Center is responding to the architecture of the building and is turning the corner. But I guess I'm just asking if there's any consideration to doing that I don't know if you guys,
I think if you felt that was an important change, we'd be willing to make that change.
I bring it
I
to the
don't-
committee if you guys think there's any value to that at all. It just might be me thinking that.
We'll give them the option to do that if need be, if they feel it's relevant.
I think we can present it as an option
Okay.
without necessarily,
All right.
making it
Mhm.
critical to deciding that now by any
Okay.
stretch, or making it part of the approval process. either.
Okay, good, good. All right, what else, guys? Anything else? Questions?
No.
You good? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions for the board? I had one other question. Looking over your plans, do you guys proposing blade signs on the building or not? No, okay, just want to make sure. Okay, I thought I saw something in there, but, all right.
Well, I
Okay.
do have one, I'm sorry, one question. As far as the micro center signage, that's going to be consistent with what's there now as far as it's backlit, right? It's channel letters, but they're backlit, whereas the home goods will be illuminated through the actual red face of the sign?
I think they'll both be face illuminated
Okay.
channel letters.
Okay.
Colin, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just gonna comment on listing the address on the
Okay.
building somewhere.
You're,
Make sure that the building is properly labeled with the correct number.
okay. So I guess, looking at this, we really can't grant approval for the
Be
sign be
contingent.
contingent upon, so, okay. Tim, you want to take that?
Sure.
Okay.
In the matter of DRB 2019-05, the application of KMO 361 Realty Associates for approval of a facade renovation and wall signage, move for contingent approval of the proposed plans based upon the variance being received by zoning.
Okay, good. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All righty. All right, and last on our agenda tonight is DRB 2019-06, the application of Whirlpool Construction and First Resource Bank at 321 West Lancaster Avenue in Wayne for a new building. Hey, Glenn.
Hi, how you doing? Good evening, Glenn Marshall for First Resource Bank. I would just like to let you know that Chris Albany, who is the neighbor in the back, has joined us tonight. I'm going to hand it over to our architect, Carrie Haber, and Joe Pavoni, and let them go through the plan.
Great. And there's a handheld mic up there if it's easier for you, so.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Haber. I'm the principal with the architecture firm of Bernardin, located in Westchester and also in Wilmington. And we brought some renderings and actual samples tonight.
Nice and loud, nice and loud, nice and loud.
Oh, it's good.
Okay.
I am loud enough?
Okay, all right, that's good.
I have a cold, so I have to.
Okay, sorry about that.
If you can't hear me, just raise your hand. So we brought renderings, which we have here, and the actual samples of the materials. And I thought we would start with the exterior of the building, and we can get into the site plan and any other topics that you wish to cover. So there you see the rendering of the building as viewed from Lancaster Avenue. Just to reiterate, there was a house there that had been turned into a medical office, which has been demolished. And we're building on the front wall of that basement. And so you can see the main material of the building is a stone, which we will bring up the actual samples there.
Great.
So that's a stone that we felt would be somewhat reminiscent of the architecture of Wayne over the years, and that is the bulk of the facade. You can see everything here and everything here and around the sides. Let's put the other rendering up. We also brought elevation so you can see all four sides. So this one in the lower left is the front elevation facing the street. That's the rendering that we just showed you. The lower right-hand corner here is the west elevation, is the left side of the building as you face it, and that has the drive-up window and the drive-up ATM. At the top of the page here is the rear of the building, and most of the customers who drive to the site will come in and actually park in the rear and enter that door right there. But even though it's the back of the building, we're treating it as a front with nice glazing and canopy, as well as that same stone material all the way around. You'll see the roof is a standing seam color. It's blue, which is the branding color of First Resource Bank. I think we have a sample of that, this one. A little hard to see. You can also look at Glenn's shirt. That'll cover it. If we need to. Okay. And then there's a red accent band, which is also in First Resource Bank's branding stuff. Okay. And then the main feature in the front here is essentially a two-story atrium, if you will, large glass. And it's all clear glass with clear anodized aluminum for the framing. Okay. So before I go on, are there any questions about the exterior materials or the exterior design of the building?
In addition to the red sort of stripe that you have going across in a Lucabon, did you have a sample of the one below it? You have two stripes of a Lucabon that wrap, what, 3 sides of the building? Does that match the storefront or it's close?
It's basically as close as you can get. This is clear anodized. This is actually a painted material, which is Lucabon.
Right.
But for all intents and purposes, it matches.
Yeah.
And as I say, there's a canopy along the back.
How does that?
And a canopy along the side to protect somebody in the car.
On sheet A201, you kind of pull out, it cites the wall sections. I'm not sure if they're part of this thing, but as far as the Lucabon sort of box that frames 3 sides of that building, is there a detail to show that? I mean, how are we, just to make sure it's not a pest control issue, right? Like the rendering is just kind of showing it as a little bit of a box, right? Is it just like a folded piece, or is there?
We have the construction documents.
Okay.
Elevations.
All right, so it's on your sheet 301, are the sections?
This is what it looks like in the existing building.
I'm sorry, Glenn. Oh,
I'm sorry,
thanks.
my bad. This is what it looks like in the existing building. We've done this in Exton and Westchester. So it's flat against the building. There's really no issue with anything getting behind it or any kind of pest or bird's nest or anything like that, whatever you're thinking might get it behind it.
And the only thing is that now that looks like it's on a smooth surface versus the stone, right? The stone going up and through, right? So is it field cut to match the stone, or is it, or just going to put a bead of caulk and hope for the best?
It would be caulked.
Yeah.
Here.
I'm not a big bead of caulk guy, so it'll look nice.
I don't doubt it. I just.
We'll see if the camera picks this up.
All right.
So, I don't know how well you can see it, but the stone comes up, and then the Lucabon is there, and then the stone starts again. So it's not actually mounted on.
It's
the
not
stone.
mounted to the stone.
It's in the plane of the stone, if you will. So
Okay.
it doesn't actually project out, so you don't have the drips. And as you can tell by the stone is an irregular surface,
Right,
so there's
right.
no way to put that up. So it's all flashed and beaded in there.
Okay.
Can you see it well enough?
Yeah, I get it. I guess the rendering kind of shows it just proud of the stone, and there's a little bit of a shadow line, but based on that section, I get it.
Yes.
Okay. All right, sorry, I don't mean to.
Questions, comments on this end? Again, your
I
mic.
think it looks nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, better than what was there.
Yes. A low bar, but yes.
They were like falling down or something, right? Was anyone even in there?
It was empty.
My office is at 353, so I'm
Yeah.
right next door.
It was empty for quite a while, as I
Yeah.
understand.
The owner that sold it to us was working through getting possession of it an illegal thing. So
Huh.
it was empty for, I think,
Yeah.
probably a year.
Yeah. But the whole, those are like 3, 4 in a row. They just did the place next door, the dance studio.
Yeah,
It's nice. You guys are,
yeah, we agree.
Doing good work.
We love the location, we love
Yeah.
the look. It keeps our branding and adapts it to the size of the building.
that's
It's a
good.
pretty small
Yeah.
building when you look at it, because it was almost 3,000 square feet. And to fit with all the zoning, this building's only 2,200 square feet.
that's cool looking.
Okay, good.
Any other questions on the exterior?
Okay, we're all right? Good, okay, good.
Okay, I'll run down the other points here.
Sure.
Exterior lighting on the building, there are there's a limited number of lights on the building. One on either side of the front, and then under the canopy on the outside.
I'm sorry, while we're talking about the sign itself, is that lit internally, and then sort of at night we're only seeing the what's in white?
Lou from Fast Signs has been talking to Kevin, but it's going to comply with whatever the ordinance is, which I don't believe permits it to be lit. So we don't plan on any difference from what's the normal course of what's permitted.
This is the fixture on the outside of the building. It's just a very basic downlight to provide appropriate lighting for safety.
Okay. How about the sides in the back of the building? And parking lot lights?
Let me defer that till I get to the site plan.
Okay, no problem.
There is site lighting. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, good.
Okay. You asked about utility lines, meters, and boxes. The electric meter is inside. Right now, well, not now, but previously, before the house was torn down, there was aerial service. We are now, the transformers on the pole, we're coming down the pole, underground and in, so there'll be no aerial lines coming into the building. And there's a gas meter just right off that corner, relatively sheltered area. The mechanical units are on a pad in the far back of the site, along with the generator, which I'll show you on the site plan. And there's a small mechanical unit on the side of the building, just a little split system, so it won't be very visible either. And the trash is in the back on that pad as well. Okay. I think that covers the building design. So, do we have a site plan? And
Okay, we're okay with all that? Yep. Okay, good. All right. You guys all right with all that so far? Good. Okay.
yep. I'm going to turn that over to you if you want to describe the site plan.
Joel Comanda with Inland Design. This is the site plan. As has been described, the parking for the site is primarily in the rear, behind the building, with a few spots located in front. Single access to be located on the eastern side. The circulation is one way, counterclockwise around the building. The lighting for the site, not shown on this plan, but I can flip to it here. The lighting, site lighting is all building mounted. There are no freestanding poles. So those are all building mounted lights that are shielded. Are there any other particular questions you have on the site?
I assume that you all will be keeping bankers' hours? So I don't imagine you'll be having a lot of people coming at night to the building.
Well, I guess you'll have,
It's a
your,
drive-through.
the ATM, I guess, will get a little activity at night.
Right.
Okay. Will you kill some of the lights at nighttime for the neighbors, or?
The way we have it set up right now from an engineering standpoint is that the two back lights are on separate timers. so we'll have control over them individually. There is not a lot of light headed back there in this plan, but we're likely to turn one of those off at night. We're actually having a conversation about whether we can have a timer and a dimmer so that we'll have the light for the employees to get to their cars at probably 6:30 or 7. Everybody's out of the building. We can turn that down to a lower level. There's also, from a variance, there's an 8-foot fence back there, so that'll cut down any extra light that might be an issue. And we're actually having conversations about whether we'll likely put shades on the back windows of the building and make that part of our closing procedure, so that if we have some lights on in the building to benefit the police, so they can have better visibility, that light won't get back in the neighborhood.
Gotcha. So you mentioned Mr. Albany's here, one of the neighbors. The neighbors are okay with all the lighting? Everybody's happy with that?
Yeah,
Oh, you want to step forward?
Chris Albany, thank you. Yeah, Glenn has been great with his communication. He's been on site with me 3 times now and went through, send me drawings. So I'm very content with, neighboring 2 different commercial properties, what he's doing, the lighting, the directional lighting, the variance on the 8-foot fence, which makes a pretty big difference in terms of sight line. Nick Neely is submitting a zoning application variance to continue that 8-foot side down the east property line to help me. But I think everything he's doing has been great. I'm very happy with the communication, what he's been doing. Thank you.
Good.
Do we have any other questions? I think we've tried to cover the points in your checklist, but.
You mentioned the trash will be in the back of the building also.
Okay, so back here, there's an island right here. It has a generator, which is not a big one. It's about 6 feet tall. There are 2 small HVAC units, which are 3 or 4 feet tall. And then there's room for 2 like totes, one for recycling and one for trash. So we actually don't have a dumpster.
Good. And you're probably shielded in some way, I'm sure.
6-foot fence.
Good. All right, what else? Have anything else for us? Landscaping?
Landscaping.
Yeah, Jonathan Alderson did our landscaping,
Oh,
so he's
okay.
been involved from day one. I
Good.
was just talking to him outside. So you got that? So this is the landscaping. It's in the recorded plan.
Landscaping plan, essentially, there's street trees being maintained along Lancaster Avenue, parking lot, trees planted around the parking lot. There is a low keystone block wall along the eastern property line, and that's being planted with shrubs along the top there. And then there's a buffering that's planted along the residential properties in the rear. As mentioned, there's also an 8-foot fence that'll be behind those. But that's the essentials of the landscaping plan.
You guys all right with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good? Colin?
Yes.
You all right? Okay, good. Sidewalks, I'm sure you're going to put new sidewalks in it as busted up out front.
Yeah, the sidewalks are being replaced all along the front. There will be ADA ramps across the driveway, and then access into the site with a sidewalk as well.
Okay, good. The signage, is that the only signage you think you're going to have on your building? Is there plans for a monument sign?
Yes, there's a plan, we weren't really going to deal with that tonight, but there is a mock-up of the monument sign, which I frankly thought Fast Signs had talked to Kevin, but apparently Kevin's given me hand signals that they haven't had any conversation.
Okay.
So, it's within code. I
Okay,
mean,
well, Glenn, we'll ask you to come back with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay.
We're not ready. We weren't ready
Yeah,
to have that
that's
conversation.
fine.
Lou's
That's
gonna
fine.
come back and I know he's a frequent flyer here, so
Yes,
I'll
he
let him
is.
come back and
Yeah.
and do the signage.
Okay, so we'll look at both the wall signage and the
Yes.
monument sign.
Yep.
Okay. And what else, guys?
The downspouts go to the underground retention? They just look like they die into the curb, I can't tell.
Yeah, all the downspouts for the building are being directed into underground retention, which
Okay.
is in the rear under the parking lot.
And is the stone veneer part of your branding as well? No?
The existing buildings have drive it, but we just, when we were at the planning commission, before we went to zoning hearing board, they said, we'd rather see it stone, and it was like, okay. So we moved quickly to the, looking at different stone options.
No, I like the stone, I just think it's bright compared to like what else is in Wayne?
You know what, we picked a brighter, because we thought it would get dirty from the Route 30 dirt, and thought it would be easier to go a little lighter and let it darken sort of over the course of the time it was up. But that was intentional. I mean, you know, there's no magic to we need to stay on the cream side because it kind of matches the drive-in on our existing buildings.
Okay.
Color? Yeah, it jumps a little bit.
It's just a little bright compared to the other stones
Yeah. Not
as
in
bright as the
Wayne.
Right.
Like Wayne Presbyterian Church is a
Right.
nice example of what's in Wayne.
Right, even a neighboring business, which is.
Because the roof is bright,
Yeah,
so
it's
I
going
don't
to
know.
jump, that building's
I don't know if there's a way to tone it down.
Well, they're making that mix for us based on the color that we asked them to. It's a manufactured product. It gets made in Lancaster.
Sure.
So, I mean, the alchemy of it is they're stirring it up and making it to our specifications. If you want it to be a little darker,
No, I would just ask the board.
we definitely could do the alchemy.
I would ask the board their opinion. But
Yeah,
I'm not-
okay.
I can be easily swayed.
Yeah, I mean, our thought was go a little lighter, let it get dirty. It'll take the brightness off of it. So that was kind of an intentional move on our part. There wasn't any magic to a brand or anything.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I know the neighboring business, which is the paint store, that's a little darker stone also.
Right, it's a great
And,
example.
Yeah, and I think to the left is the new dance studio, and I guess that's a brick facade?
Yeah,
Or no, Dr. Boucher, the dentist is next door, and I think that's a brick building also.
It's just my only comment. I don't,
It definitely will stand out.
Yeah, for sure.
especially with the blue roof.
Well, yeah, the blue roof alone.
I think if you darken the stone, it might mute the building a little more, but again, I'm only one person on the board, so.
Right.
I agree with you, Colin, that one of the things when I first saw the picture, I did think that it was a bit more of a
It looks more,
light brown rather than.
more coastal than,
The only comment I would make is, this is a very tiny building.
and I
think
appreciate that.
I think making it a slightly lighter color is a benefit in that regard. The rendering makes it look a little bit bigger, but it's pretty tiny. So that was another reason to keep a little bit lighter. And the blue roof isn't as bright as you might think. They have it on 2 other buildings, and it hasn't been any problem in terms of glare at all.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, so we're going to ask you to come back for your signage.
Absolutely, yes.
Will there be much signage on the ATM machine, or is that just kind of a band at the top?
Just an ATM. I mean, really none. No bank signage.
Okay.
I don't think there's any signage at all, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, the ATM's kind of self-explanatory when you pull up to it.
Gotcha. Any other questions from the board, comments?
Okay.
Glenn, I'm going to ask you, since we have a couple minutes before the next meeting starts, if you just want to say a little bit about First Resource Bank, since you're coming into town, and
Yeah,
probably not
okay.
too many
Thank
people
you.
know about your branch, so.
We started the bank 14 years ago from scratch. Our shareholders are business people in the area. You know, we probably wouldn't have been coming down here if our fellow community bank, Penn Liberty, hadn't been purchased, because we think that there's a big need for community banking in the area. So we're a business bank. I mean, if you know John Durso from the Mainline Chamber of Commerce, John's our chief retail officer. So it was kind of a natural to come down and support all his efforts with the Mainline Chamber over the years. So we're thrilled to be in the neighborhood. We're big supporters of a lot of community things. I think you'll find us to be a really good neighbor and a really good corporate citizen.
Great. Well, welcome to town. Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments from the bank officials here tonight? No? Comments, questions from the board? We're okay? Who would like to make a motion for approval? Colin, want to take that? Sure. Okay.
In the matter of DRB 2019-06, Warfel Construction First Resource Bank, motion to approve site and facade improvements.
Okay, you ready a second?
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Lots of luck to you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Any other business for our board tonight? We're okay? We'll see you in March.
March.
Thank you.
Thank you.